Hi guys, how are you doing? I am so excited to be here today. Welcome, welcome, and come on in. If you've never been here before, I'm Jodee Jean Daniels, and this is another podcast interview for my channel, Just Jodee Plus One. And I am excited today to have Kauffman here in the studios with me. We are going to be talking about his editing, his just all the wonderful things he does over there, his writing, his the Last Scarecrow, and his community. I know, and his community, the right now. So, without further ado, let me bring my friend on in. Welcome, welcome.
There.
Hey, how are you doing?
I am excellent.
Yes.
I knew that coming onto a podcast about coffee, I knew I needed to have my my cup
Yes.
of coffee here. I was
Yes.
like
Yes. Yes.
already waking up for the day.
I had to switch to water. I have been
Mm,
up since early this morning.
yeah, I'm literally such a night owl. I know it's funny because I feel like I'm starting so much later than people, but I literally work all night. I'm
Yeah.
starting like 10 to 12 and then I work till the early hours of sunrise.
Oh, it's crazy, crazy. But I'm going to let you have the floor just for a minute to kind of introduce yourself to my audience and just
Mhm.
let them know who you are and what you do. And then I'm going to start with our first question. So go ahead,
Ooh.
my friend.
Excellent. So once again, Jodee, thank you again for having me. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Kauffman. I'm on a mission to help the writers of the world with the process, lifestyle, and mindset that it takes to be an author. I started the WriteNow community, which is a daily writing motivation community stream. We are at, what's that, 428 consecutive writing streams and counting. I started that about a year ago at the beginning of 2024, really to hold myself accountable so I could actually like put my writing on the screen and make sure that I show up and write. And then
Yes.
since then, it's evolved over the course of this past year where we do all types of writing stuff from writing sprints, we do a fiction contest, critique streams, author interviews, and so much more. So my motto is if you don't feel like writing, write anyways.
Right now. That's
Mhm.
right. I am a member of his community and I love it, you guys. We have so much fun. We
Mhm.
have so much fun. So I encourage all my guys to go subscribe to his channel.
Aw.
It is awesome. We have such a good time over there. All right, you ready?
Mhm. I was like,
First
I
question.
hope I'll be able to do your questions justice.
Okay, okay. I This has been on my mind. I think I know how it came about
Mhm.
because I know like what you did. Um,
Mhm.
what inspired you to create the Creative Ghost, and how did you come up with that name for your website? I want to see if I'm right.
Thank you for that. So, for those of you who don't know, we have the Right Now community, which is the social media brand, and then I have the Creative Ghost LLC, which is the writing service brand. So, I
Mhm.
created the Creative Ghost for the writing services, for editing, coaching, and originally ghostwriting. And this plays exactly to your question, Jodee. Why did I
Mhm.
go with the Creative Ghost originally? Because I
Mhm.
focused on ghostwriting. Because before I started this chapter of
Okay.
my journey,
Okay.
I was hired predominantly as a freelancer for ghostwriting projects.
Okay.
Before kind of moved, I still offer it as a service, but most
Mhm.
writers who come to me these days are here for either editing or coaching services.
Okay.
Mhm.
All right, let's talk about that. Let's talk about editing and coaching. How has your approach to developmental editing evolved since you started offering professional editing services?
Mhm. That's a great question. So I would say in my earlier days of being an editor, I feel like I had a very general approach to character development and story structure.
Mhm.
And I had taken it from my background in creative writing. I went to the University of California, Riverside, BFA in creative writing. So I took a lot of my framework and systems and ideas and I
Mhm.
applied it to my practice. What I learned in all of the clients that I've worked with is that some clients do really, really well in,
Mhm.
let's say, like character development. So some
Right.
might do really well in like world building. Some
Mhm.
might be really great with dialogue per se.
Mhm.
But I think a lot of the times writers get feedback from editors, and sometimes the feedback doesn't always match up because the editor isn't being intentional with the type of advice. And when I say intentional, I mean aligning the problems with, okay, is this a character development problem? Is
Mhm.
this a world building problem? Or
Mhm.
is this one of those other elements? And I
Mhm.
think clarifying it into each of these brackets makes it easier as a writer. Because like I think
Yeah.
about if I get my stuff back from a writer or back if I get my stuff back from an editor, I'm like, how can I make it easy? I want to make things easier. I want to make it easier to be a writer. So that way all my writers are more likely
Mhm.
to publish their books. I want to
Yeah.
see more published books out there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, this is kind of a two-parter. Um, how do you balance providing that constructive criticism while helping the writer maintain their unique voice? And then how do you handle situations where you and the writer disagree about the writer's creative choices during editing?
That's a really great question. So okay, so twofold. So first off, dealing with how do I deal with this is essentially feedback. And especially with writers, like when we put our stuff out for editors, when we put it out to the world,
Mhm.
we love our babies, right? We love our characters.
Mhm.
We don't want our characters and our storytelling to get hurt.
Right.
I have this approach and I have this mindset that there's no bad writing out there. There's no bad storytelling out there.
Mhm.
In my Saturday story and critique stream where writers submit their stories to the community and
Mhm.
I do live critiques and feedback, I out of over the 200 plus stories we've done on the stream, I
Mhm.
don't think I've ever given a bad piece of advice where I've said this story sucks. It is my belief that even with stories that have opportunities, right? Even with stories where like you can tell like just the skill level isn't as high as somebody who's maybe been writing for years, there's
Right.
always intention. Every
Mhm.
writer has an intent, like they have a vision. And then my goal as either a critiquer or an editor is how do I understand what the writer's vision is so I can help them bring it to life. So I
Yeah.
think trying to understand where the writer's coming from is the
Right.
key to success. And
Yeah.
because I have this mindset where there's no bad writing, I'm like,
Mhm.
I never try to get down on where people are coming from because I think there
Mhm.
are always things that are working
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
balancing it out with what needs to be improved.
Yeah. And
Mhm,
and I can also attest to you that you're not a "I'm right, you're wrong" type person. You're very
mhm,
open and
mhm.
just so easy to work with. So
Well,
so
thank you.
I just I just think you're awesome.
Aw.
I
Uh,
love I loved that the critique group. I haven't
mhm.
been able to get back, but it was so warm and welcoming, and it wasn't scary at all. I thought it was gonna be, "Ah," but it was so fun. It was so
Mhm.
much fun. I loved it. But it brings me kind of my next question, and that's what common challenges do you think we all face as writers right now? And you as a coach, how do you help people like me and others overcome our fears, our doubts, our writing problems, where do you where do you get that inspiration and knowledge from to be able to help us overcome those challenges in your coaching?
You know what's interesting is in my years before I really started putting myself online in the writing landscape, I
Mhm.
dealt with a lot of these problems, right? I dealt with a lot of fear of was I good enough? I dealt with feeling a lot like a failure because I
Mhm.
wasn't a published author. Even though I've written all the time since I was very young. I started around when I was 6 or 7 years old,
Mhm.
but I've gone through so many highs and lows. And
Mhm.
now I'm at a point in my life, I'm at a point in my journey where I don't feel a lot of those same pressures when it comes to writing that I see a lot of writers face.
Yeah.
So when I think about what type of help would I have wanted to receive when I was in those moments
Yeah.
of struggle, and for
Mhm.
me, I think part of it was being a part of a community that's
Mhm.
accessible and easy to be a part of, right?
Mhm.
And I
Mhm.
think part of the fact that we do a daily writing community, writers know that they can always show up to learn and be supported by writers of all genres and skill levels. And then in on top of that, I think it's being open to talk about the different areas of writing that writers struggle with. It's really being a part of the conversation. If they see me talking about it, okay, that's cool. But then when I bring others on, and then when we're all talking about these writing problems, they're like, it makes them think about their own stuff. And then it gives them ideas. I'm like, okay, well, maybe I've been in my head, or maybe this is a new idea or strategy I haven't tried yet.
Well, speaking about the WriteNow community, could you describe the WriteNow community to my viewers for those who don't know, and the impact on writers seeking motivation and support that you've seen since you started doing the every day?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, 420 something streams so far. And when I started this, I didn't really know what was going to happen. Like I said, I started daily writing and on the live stream just to hold myself accountable, right? Because I'm like, if I say I'm going to put my writing on screen, I have to write. I can't just not write if it's on screen. And in that process, I built a community which is continuing to evolve over time. I mean, the first days 1 through 45, I would show up and nobody really showed up to the streams, right? Maybe one person, maybe 1 or 2 friends, but it was nothing crazy. And because I was focused on enjoying the writing process like I always have, my mental health was all right. I wasn't like, oh, nobody shows up, this is done, it's not worth it. And I think my enthusiasm for writing is very apparent, and especially in a live stream, like fake it till you make it, right? Especially when we're in a live environment. And I think that type of energy has attracted writers over time. And now we're at a point where we get writers from all different genres and all skill levels. At one point in time, I thought it was really just beginner writers, but then no, we have writers who have published many, many books. And the one thing that I always recognize, like, why do writers show up here? It's because it is daily writing community.
And so that kind of takes care of this next question, because my next question was, writing, how do you feel about daily writing and motivation, and how does it encourage your habit? So it encourages you because we all know that we're going to be there for each other, and that we have each other's backs. Because I know that, like with my whiskeys that I do live sprints with, we're tight. We've always, got each other's backs. And I feel that same way, when I'm in your community, that it's always about making sure everybody's, doing good. What do they need? That kind of stuff. And it's not just you, it's the members too. And that's what's so warming, is that everybody's so friendly and welcoming. Yeah. Can you share a memorable experience from your journey of conducting way over 400 consecutive writing sprints? Is there something that stands out?
It's interesting because when I look back on it, and I know I got very, I don't know if emotional is the right word, but at the end of the year, when I hit that 1-year goal, we hosted the WriteNow-a-thon at the end of the year, where we had a bunch of authors and guests. It was like a live virtual conference, which was super cool. And I really thought back to the past year, and I thought about like what really stood out. And I was asking myself, like, why am I I felt myself like wanting to cry on stream. And I'm like, why? What was it about it? And I think it was thinking about all of these. No, it wasn't like there was one special moment. It was a collection of a lot of these like general feelings. The times where writers show up to writers group, and it's just a bunch of writers, and they just want to talk with each other, and we talk about writing nonsense. Or the times where I didn't feel like writing at all, and I show up and other writers show up and support me, even though I'm like, yeah, I do not feel like writing. Or like my co-hosts, like Penelope and Chat Soul, who've shown up before, or the writers who show up and they've been so like supported just by being a part of this community. it's a collection of all these events. It's all these moments that really stood out to me. And then at the end of the year, I'm like, wow, it's just so cool. It's so cool. I
So,
love writing so much. I
so
love every part of the process. And
yeah,
I want more writers out there, not just to take it seriously, but to take it seriously in a way that works for their lifestyle, while
right.
also putting out positive energy in a
Yeah.
way that allows us to be effective storytellers in a
Mhm.
world full of uncertainty.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly. Exactly. Um, Last question about right now, and then we're going to move on to the last scarecrow.
Woo!
Can you share any upcoming projects or initiatives you're excited about within the Right Now community?
Ooh, that is a great question. So right now we have two upcoming holiday events.
Mhm.
So something that I learned at the end of last year, after what this was around August, September, I realized that I was like, how am I going? I figured out this strategy that's going to take us to 1,000 subscribers. I feel pretty good about that. And like the subscriber milestones, like that's good. I like, to me, the numbers aren't that important because I'm here for the journey, but
Right.
numbers matter from a surface level
Right.
to for attention and then for brands and sponsorships, right? So
Right.
sponsors are more likely to come up when you have higher numbers, even though I don't care
Right.
about it. It's those are still things that you have to keep in mind. So
Right.
recognizing that, I'm like, how am I going to make myself stand out? How am I going to get from 1,000 to 10,000? What does that next part of the journey look like?
Yeah.
And the thing I realized is doing these huge writing events because it pulls in a lot of people and it
Mhm.
also provides a different type of value, which is
Okay.
how the fiction contest was born back in October. And
Mhm.
then in December, we did this writing conference, the Right Now-a-thon. Now, I realized I wanted to copy that model and say, like, all right, can we do a couple of those throughout the year? So
Mhm.
we actually just launched our Read Now book club as of 4 days ago. So we just launched a brand new book club.
Oh, I got to jump in on that. I
It's
haven't.
very cool.
I have been so crazy busy from last
Mhm.
Friday until today that I've just been like,
Yeah, just
I'm
trying
like,
to
I'm
scramble to like
treading
stay
on. I'm like,
afloat.
just keep swimming, just keep swimming. Yeah, I'm gonna jump
I
over on
totally get
that.
that.
That sounds
This is
fun.
the Read Now book club is a book club for writers. And
Ah,
that is the thing that I really wanted to elevate.
that's
We
exciting.
focus on indie authors and we focus on indie authors and indie writers both from the community and outside of the community, but
Okay.
specifically still in the indie category so that we can support our fellow authors. We all want to get there. You absolutely
That was
should.
my shameless plug.
No,
Um,
you absolutely should. So, and the way that we're doing this model is so for the first month, we chose the book because we wanted a book to launch with.
right.
But throughout the month, what we're going to do for future months is members are actually going to get to vote on what books that they want. So
Oh,
each month that I have myself and I brought on four other co-hosts who were running it together. And essentially each month we're going to announce what genre we're doing. All the members get to choose or suggest books that they want within the genre. The co-host, we will narrow it down to like a top 5 or a top 6, and then everyone gets to vote on what book they want to read. So like,
that'll be fun.
and we're telling authors like, if you want to if your book is within the genre, recommend your book. If you
Mm,
know other authors and their book is in the genre, recommend their books because it's going to
okay.
be vote and it's going to be decided on by the members.
Oh, that'll be
Mhm.
fun.
Mhm.
That'll be so much fun. That'll be fun. Even if they don't pick mine, that'll still be fun.
Mhm.
Just I love
Right.
stuff like that. I love like the
And I think the takeaway that I want is I want writers because we're going to have an interview in the middle of the month and then we
uh-huh.
have the discussion at the end of the month. And I want writers to be able to walk away from it of I've read something maybe within my own genre, maybe outside, but I want writers to walk away having learned something about the
Mhm.
writing process that they've learned with other writers in the community.
That's great. That's great. I
Mhm.
love that. I love that. All right. Let's move on to the last scarecrow.
Woo! Oh, I love it. I love Scarecrow.
Woohoo! All right. The Last Scarecrow is an intriguing title.
Mhm.
And can you share the inspiration behind it and how it ties into the story's central theme.
Absolutely. So I can actually give you an inspiration. Is it all right if I screen share a picture?
Absolutely.
All right, let me pull it up here, and it's somewhere around here. All right, perfect. So I have this, and then I'll screen share on my end.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so you asked what the inspiration was for The Last Scarecrow.
Yes.
And perfect. So I screen shared it there, and then I think you'll be able to add it to the screen for them to see.
All right. Let me go ahead and grab it. If I can get my guide to work
There we
again.
go.
Oh,
Beautiful.
wow. That's gorgeous.
So when I started on this writing journey, when I quit the day job originally, I'm like, all right, I'm just going to go full in on writing. I actually had not even thought of the idea for The Last Scarecrow yet.
Mm-hmm.
I had not even thought of the idea. I asked myself when I'm like, okay, if I'm going to write every day for a year, what I'm actually going to work on, I had assumed I was going to finish my old projects that I hadn't been
Right.
working on. I was like, okay, I'll finish the old projects. I'll like knock out a bunch because I have a lot in my catalog between
Mm-hmm.
screenplays,
Mm-hmm.
novels, short stories. I have quite a mix.
Mm-hmm.
But on day one, I'm like, okay, well, I'm just going to try a free write. And I'm going to try to do like different pictures each day. Maybe I'll try it for a month. And
Mm-hmm.
that image that you saw was the one on day one. And that
Oh.
led to a 2-page short story. And now what's interesting, and this is fun, I cracked myself up so much. When I first looked at this, I
Mm-hmm.
thought this was a scarecrow right here.
Oh,
But like
wow.
I like look back at it and I'm like, I think that's just like a piece of wood. Like now that I look back at it, like I think that's just like a piece of wood. Like that just cracked me
It's
up.
not a scarecrow, but hey, it's what matters is it inspired you.
Yeah, so that's essentially what led to a 2-page free write of a scarecrow in a field, a crow coming up and stealing his hat and flying away. And then over the course of January, during the first 30 or so streams, I wrote
Mm-hmm.
on it periodically. I did other free writes as well.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end of the month, I was probably about 30 to 50 pages into the Last Scarecrow, into this first section. And I
Mm-hmm.
realized at the end of January, I'm like, of all the free writes I've done, Scarecrow was the one that was the furthest along, and it had enough elements for world building, fantasy elements, enough
Oh,
genre and thematic elements that
okay.
I was like, okay, that's the type of world that I want to explore. And that's going to allow me to tell the
Right.
types of themes and stories and tropes that I feel would be really
Right.
interesting right now.
That's cool. That's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
The fantasy world,
Mm-hmm.
um, it's extensive. So, can you give us a glimpse into the setting, The Last Scarecrow, and any unique elements that differentiate from other fantasy realms, say?
Absolutely. So if you like, I can actually read the blurb for you.
I would love it. Please, please.
I was like, we've gone over this blurb a couple times. So let me pull it up here. Yeah, so I've
Okay.
gone over the blurb a couple times. And then I know a couple
I'm
weeks
going to share
ago.
the blurb while you read. Is that okay?
Absolutely perfect.
Okay.
Okay. So this is called The Last Scarecrow, a Dawn of Magic series, part
Mm-hmm.
1. What happens when you forget that you're the last of your kind? Scarecrow, with fleeting memories of his creators, awakens to a world withering under the nothingness. Nature's elemental magics rage unchecked, animals lose their minds, and even the strongest creatures fade from the threat of the first demon. Haunted by loss but driven by hope, Scarecrow sets out to find the truth, joined by unlikely allies, an eccentric, sharp-tongued crow lost without his younglings, a flightless trickster of a pixie lost without her kind, and a lovelorn grizzly bear lost without a soulmate. Together, they traverse the lands of the last, where each shadow hides a predator, every sunrise beckons the moon, and hope lies like an unnerving melody of entrapment. Can Scarecrow and his wayward companions overcome the challenges of a crumbling world and unravel their truths before they succumb to nothingness? Or will their shadowed nemesis plunge them into eternal suffering, forcing them to forget who they are and why they began their journeys in the first place? A Dawn of Magic series is a dark fantasy action adventure story that explores freedom, loss, and the consequences of magic being unleashed into the universe. Step into a spellbinding tale of mystery, magic, melody, memory, and mayhem.
Oh, fun.
Mhm.
Oh, yes. So, the Dawn of Magic, the series, that how does the Scarecrow fit into the broader narrative arc? Is that going to be like the central characters for the whole thing? Is it going to be where readers need to? I know I'm sorry. Well,
No, y'all
the
good.
readers need to like read the first book, the second, but or can they do they stand as standalones, or is it better to read? We want everybody to read our entire series, but if somebody comes
Mhm.
along and picks up book two, are they going to
Mhm.
be able to pick up and understand it? Or is it just a straight out series from book to book,
Mhm.
like with the demon sagas?
That's a great question. So each book is going to follow a central character journey, whether that is Scarecrow or
Mhm.
one of the core heroes that he is with.
Okay.
Each story will follow a standalone character journey.
Okay.
Now, because it is a fantasy series, readers
Mhm.
will of course get more fulfillment if when you're reading book 2, if you've read book 1 and you know
Right.
the background to the character journey that you're about to take, all of
Right.
the overarching world elements and all of
Right.
the A, the B, and the C story of the series,
Yeah.
you will get a lot more
Okay.
fulfillment out of going from book 1, but they could be technically read out of order.
Okay.
Because I do care about that beginning to end of a book does tell a core journey from
Okay.
start to finish. So
Okay.
that's a great
Awesome.
question.
I love
And then
that.
regarding the magic element of it,
Yes.
readers buy, which I love, like, and I'm such a fantasy nerd.
Yeah.
The one of the reasons that I got even deeper into Scarecrow was I want to do something with magic, and I'm like, well, what if I explore the creation of magic itself and the benefits and consequences of that system on a
Right.
world. The world is called the Lands of the Last,
Mhm.
and the current state is the consequences and some positive, some benefits as well, but some severe consequences of what unleashing magic into the universe cost. Not just, and all the different societies that have existed as a result.
That's
So by
amazing.
the end of the first book, the reader will have a better understanding
Mhm.
of the reader will have a better understanding of how a little of the backstory of how the magic was unleashed, how it
Right.
pertains to the main characters,
Mhm.
and their importance in it. All of the characters, everything is tied. Everything is tied very closely together. I'm a
Mhm.
huge fan of foreshadowing and connecting
Okay.
pieces and connecting
Mhm.
dots.
Me too.
This is the type of series where you'll be able to get to book 3, 4, 5, however many books
Mhm.
there are in it, and you'll realize that there are at least 20 to 40 foreshadowed references in book 1. You will always be able to find hints that will connect all of the books.
That's awesome. That's
Mhm.
that's that's great. It's like looking for the hidden Mickeys at Mickey, at Walt Disney.
Mhm.
Are there any particular themes or messages you hope to convey with the Last Scarecrow?
Yes, I do. This is another great question. Let's see, bear with me just a second, because that is another great one that I have a thing for that explains it way better than me going off the cuff.
I gotcha.
Let's see. Uno momento. All right. So this is essentially, let's see, where is it? Okay, so this is for who should read this book. So The Last Scarecrow, part 1 of a Dawn of Magic series, is for
Mhm.
readers who enjoy vast fantasy worlds with dark undertones and foreshadowing story elements on every page. This is a dark fantasy action adventure with elements of science fiction, post-apocalypse, and folktale. Some of the major themes explored are magic and its consequences, identity and self-discovery, trauma and healing, resistance against hopelessness, environmental and ecological extremes, survival of the fittest, grief and loss, and kindness versus hate. There are never before seen twists on fantasy and folktale characters, cultures, and beliefs.
Wow,
Mhm.
that's exciting.
Mhm.
Woohoo. All right. Well, I have come to our last question in my deck of
Ooh.
cards. And it's just a miscellaneous question, just your point
Okay.
of view. Can you discuss the significance of storytelling in today's digital age and its impact on readers, particularly leaning toward the use of AI?
Absolutely. So, it's funny because you mentioned AI, and I was already going to include AI as part of the conversation.
Hmm.
So, storytelling. Storytelling, of course, is important. I think we can all agree that regardless of what format, whether it's digital or not digital, storytelling is a core need of
Hmm.
just being what I like to call the human experience. Everything
Right.
that we see online, on social media, everything that we read is a form of storytelling, whether it's your social media algorithm, news, whatever.
Hmm.
The beautiful thing about being a storyteller in the digital landscape
Hmm.
is you have so much more opportunity in this day and age than was possible 10, 20,
Right.
30 years ago.
Yeah.
Now, with AI being part of the picture, we know AI is very at times divisive, right? We have a
Hmm.
lot of writers, creatives, artists who love AI, love leveraging it as a back end tool to speed up the process. We have a lot who feel like, oh, it's going to take my job, or it's going to do things that I feel like I should do. And there's a lot of I understand both sides of the argument. It's my core belief that AI is actually going to push people to want to follow real people even more. So there are things that AI will always do better. AI can write a book in a minute. I cannot write a book in a minute. And AI will also help speed up things like efficiencies and make things more, make the overall process efficient. And if there's anything that they've learned, we want to
Hmm.
do things easier and faster.
Right.
It's my belief that writers and creatives who don't leverage AI, I'm not saying to write the book for you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying like you got to trust your creative process, but to leverage AI for like processes of like a spell checker, or to leverage it as like a brainstorm partner of like, okay, if I'm thinking of this idea, how would this idea be play to an audience of 20 to 30-year-olds who are interested in this style of book? And like things like that, right? So for like
Right.
analysis,
Hmm.
um and I think that by leveraging AI as a backend process, we will
Hmm.
improve our own efficiency, and we
Right.
will in turn become better storytellers because we can learn things more effectively. And then from
Mhm.
a front facing perspective, a lot of the social media companies are requiring creators to identify if it is AI created content, because it's the same thing as advertising and marketing. Nobody wants to watch an ad if they don't know it's an ad. Most people don't want to watch ads anyways, but there's a
Mhm.
reason that it's required by
Mhm.
law that people have to say if this is an ad, it has to be on the screen or it has to be
Mhm.
placed somewhere. Same thing
Mhm.
with AI. We're going to get to a point where there's going to be a lot more AI content and things that are identified as AI. And some people are going to like that, but a lot of people are going to be like, that's cool, but I want to follow a real person. So
Mhm.
this is like the opportunity to build communities, build people, build your readership. I am all a proponent of newsletters, right? If you don't
Mhm.
have your newsletter, which is helping to drive your own community, you should definitely create a newsletter. And it's
Yeah.
these types of things I think will help push writers to
Mhm.
want to tell the stories that they want to tell, and then
Right.
connect with people who want that real human experience.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's absolutely awesome. Great, great, great answer. Well, sweet friend, thank you so much for coming on
Mhm.
here today and being part of this. I just appreciate it so much. If you would be so kind as to, and also send it to me in an email, but let my viewers and listeners know how they can find you. If you
Mhm.
could talk about that for a minute.
Absolutely. So for anybody who wants to find me or what we're doing, we're right here on YouTube on the Right Now channel. One word, right now. We always come up top because we stream every day.
Yeah.
It's like I know we always rank first. If you want to find me on any other socials, Kauffman right now.
Awesome. 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 Well, thank you so much, my friend. I appreciate you for being here so much. And I guess I am to that point where my whiskeys, they know what I'm going to say, but I'm going to say it anyway. I may not be everybody's cup of tea, but I'm a particular group of people's double shot of whiskey. And I'm so happy and I'm so proud that y'all come and hang out with me on days like today and that you find me just right. Love you. Love you. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.